So first I'm going to go to my upper right hand corner to my Spotlight search, and I'm going to search for GarageBand. GarageBand might also be down below in your dock. If you float over it, you'll see GarageBand. You can also click there. I'm going to hit return, and GarageBand will open. Now GarageBand defaults to open the last project that you were working on. So if you've worked on a project before, this will come up. Otherwise, if it does come up, you go File, New, and you're looking for this screen. Some of you, it might default right to this screen. And you want to pick Empty Project. For everything that we do for now, you're going to select Empty Project. I make sure that's selected and I hit Choose. Then GarageBand's going to open and you're going to have some more options here. The one you're going to pick today is Software Instrument. This is when you want to use your MIDI controller. The one with the microphone here is if you're using the studio. This is how you would record vocals. And then this one right here, more advanced students, this is so that you can add some drums to your song. So first we'll start with Software Instrument and just hit Create. And this should all come up. You're going to see you have a track right here called Classic Electric Piano. The way that it's set up and the way that music is set up is by measures. So from the 1 to the 2 is one measure. And within that, we are in the key signature of 4/4. And you don't really need to understand what that means, except that there are 4 beats per measure. And a measure goes from that 1 to that 2, and these little marks are the beats. So right now, there's a couple things I want you to look at. You're going to look at your tempo. BPM stands for beats per minute, and it's going to default or be set when you come into the program to 120. And then I want you to go over to here and click on your metronome or click track. So once that's highlighted, that dark purple, and you're at 120, we'll hit play and we're going to be able to hear these clicks. All right, so that's too fast. I want you to change that. Click here and change it to 60 or lower. I'm going to do mine at 60. I'm going to click off of it. So now my BPM or beats per minute are at 60. Now before you do anything else or you start playing the piano, you don't want to leave a document as untitled because something could happen, or not a document, a project is untitled, because something could happen and then your project just gets deleted. So you're going to go File, you're going to hit Save, and it's going to ask you to rename it. Don't hit delete, just start to type over where it says Project 2, and I want you to title it Loop 1, and your first initial, mine is S, and then your last name. Do not delete the extension, the file extension, which is .band. A file extension tells the computer what program will be used to open this, and GarageBand's file extension is .band. Word documents are .doc, so this file extension is band. GarageBand is a fine place to save it. I'll hit save. I already have this because I've done this project before. I'm just going to hit replace. You guys won't have that step. All right, so now I've got it at 60 BPM. My metronome or click track is turned on, and I can bring this playhead to the beginning. I can either drag it in this little area here, or I can click this, which just takes me to the beginning. So now I just want to hear that beat. So maybe you just want to practice a little bit. So you're going to be using 3 notes for this first loop 1 assignment. You're going to be using your C, and this will be on your MIDI controller. You'll have your MIDI controllers hooked up. So your C, your E, and your G. And those 3 notes together make a chord. So I'm going to play them together and you're going to see it sounds nice, it sounds harmonious. And this is called the C Major Chord. Again, that's C, E, and G. Okay? So for this loop, you are going to play those 3 notes in the order that you decide. So I'm going to bring my playhead back to the beginning. I've also got my count in track. So that means that it's going to play 4 beats before it starts recording. So I hit record, and I'm going to hear 4 clicks, then I can start playing. So here it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what I decided to do for that one is I held my C. I actually held it for 2 counts, but I could have just held it for 1 count, 2 count, 3, 4. So I decided to do it that way. So that could be all great, or if I don't like that, I hit delete. I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to hit record again, and I'm going to play a different pattern, again, just using those 3 notes. So I could do something like, or I could do I can play them in any kind of order. The nice thing about a chord is we always know those notes sound really nice together. I'm playing just kind of variations of them. If you want to challenge yourself to play 2 at a time, you can. But for now, for beginners, I think playing 1 at a time is great. So I'm going to hit record. I have my 4 count in. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's all I need to do. I only need to play those 4 notes. Now say I didn't hit that record at the end and this was kind of longer. I want to make sure those 4 notes fit into this one measure and looks just like this and is just fitting in there. So it'll make sense when I show you the next step. So if I'm happy with what I've got there, I'm going to double click it and my piano roll comes up. So my piano roll is going to allow me, I could change the note if I wanted to. But hopefully you played the right note. What I really want you to look at right now is what's called quantize. And what quantize does is it puts those notes directly on beat. Most of us are not going to play the notes directly on beat, and actually that's fine because I like how music sounds when it sounds like a human made it, but we're going to today, for the purposes of this, make it sound like a robot made it and it's perfectly on beat. So I'm going to go over here to where it says time quantize, and I'm going to select quarter notes, okay? And then do you see how it moved them? I'm going to hit the Q again. It moved each of these right to that line. Oh, it looks like I have to click on them individually. And you see how they're right on that line? That means they're perfectly in beat. So let's listen. If I wanted to drag the notes longer, I could do that in my piano roll. So basically you can adjust anything in here. So this is what it sounds like now. Okay, when I'm happy with that, I'm going to loop these notes, which means play them over and over again. So down here is where I pulled to adjust sort of the size of what my loop was going to be. Here's where I actually loop it. So I bring my cursor up to the top where it's this like light green, and I pull this, and it's going to loop these over and over again. And I want them to loop to 16 bars. 16, not to 16, I want to go past 16 and go to 17. That's actually 16 bars. And 16 bars is a really common amount of bars in music. You hear rappers say that they're going to rap a 16 bar. So 16 is going to be kind of our standard. 16 and 8 will be the standards that we're looking at. All right, and now I can play it. And then I want to turn off my metronome, and this is all you have to do on this project. I'm going to make a more advanced video, but if you just get here, that's great too. And you can just, when you're done, the file that I want you to turn into me is an MP3, because if you send me a band file and I don't have GarageBand, I'm not going to be able to hear it. And some of you might like your beats and want to put them on your phones. They have to be an MP3. So in order to do that, I go Share, and I go to Export Song to Disk. I click on that. I'm fine with how it's saving because I already named it. It can be in GarageBand. Make sure you select MP3. This is a nice file type. It's compressed, so it's not a huge file. It sounds good. It's a really standard audio file. I hit Export. The program's going to run through and do something called bouncing the track and then converting it to an MP3.